It was 3 a.m. on Saturday morning. I was standing in the trailhead of the Frederick Meyer Trail. Anybody know about that? It's a 100-mile trail that goes from Grand Rapids up to Cadillac, and I was part of a relay team that started running at 10:30 Friday morning, and we finished up yesterday about 11:30 or 12 o'clock. And as I stood on that trailhead, it was pitch black. I'm looking around, and I'm thinking to myself, Mike, what on God's green earth are you doing? Because I'm going to be running from Reed City down to Paris, Michigan. And it's about a 6.5 mile run. And I mean, that trail is dark. And I got a headlamp on that's not working great, right? And I'm running through this, but as I'm running through it, as I'm running down this trail, I'm telling you, it was simply magical. Stars were out, moon was out a little bit. The temperature was just perfect. I had already run a couple of legs, so I was a little bit tired, but when the temperature drops, it's like you get a whole new set of legs on you. And I'm out there by myself, and yeah, I am absolutely convinced that any creature that could possibly eat me is 5 feet behind me. I know that for sure, right? But I'm out there, and I'm just telling you, it's magical. It is absolutely magical to do this crazy stuff that some of us have a tendency to do. And as I'm thinking about it and I'm preparing for the talk today, the thing that comes to my mind is, why do I do this stuff? Why do I do it? You know why I do it? One word. Joy. And that's the theme of the month. And it's also the reason why I'm sitting down here, by the way, as opposed to walking back and forth, right? But it's a theme for the month. And so as we explore that this month, I'm really going to have you take some time and just be with it, this idea of joy. And so this morning's going to be a little bit different. We're just going to have a conversation of what joy is. Did you know that in the Bible, the word joy is used over 200 times? Do you think it might not be a little bit important? 200 times. In Psalms it says, "You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand." Now just pay attention to what that's saying. You will make known to me the path of life. Could there possibly be something in there you might want to pay attention to? You'll make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence. Of course, talking about God. Right? Jesus said in John, "These things I have spoken to you so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be made full." Think about what Jesus said, and here's the important thing about that quote. He said it at the Last Supper. Do you think he might not have had a few things going on that he knew he was going to be going through, and yet he's sitting there talking about joy? Why would he do that? What was it about joy that the people in the Bible knew? What was it? From C.S. Lewis, one of my favorite quotes is, "Joy is the serious business of heaven." Right? So when we think of heaven, I think it's one of the most beautiful things that we can think about is this idea of joy, about how important it is, about what a tremendous asset it is, about how, to me, joy is almost like one of your superpowers. It is. It's one of your spiritual superpowers. Yet how many people really stop and think about that and go, I think I'll use joy today. How many people do that? I see one hand up. One. But we don't think about it. Joy. As I thought about it, what came to my mind was this quote: "Joy is a natural expression when we understand who and what we are and who and what God is. It's a natural expression. In other words, we don't have to do anything other than let it happen. So when we're in alignment with who and what we are, and we're in alignment with who and what God is, it just happens. We don't have to do anything. It just happens because it's a natural expression. So when we think about joy, we're just going to spend a few minutes, and this is kind of where it's going to get more conversational. So I have a question for you. What brings you joy? What brings you joy? What's that? Charles says it's his cat. Beautiful. Your cat. What else? Nature. Skiing. Beautiful. Jim's clapping, I think, for the skiing. Making new friends. Awesome. Music, of course. Absolutely. The weather? Sometimes. Right? Your daughter and your grandson. Beautiful. What else? Health? Your health. Yeah. Playing. Yeah. Just playing. Creating? Connection? Deep connection. Running until the endorphin kicks in. Yeah, I can relate to that one. Not today, but yeah. Dancing. Beautiful. Beautiful. Family and my spiritual community. Flowers and nature. Yeah. Yeah. Work is your biggest joy. Absolutely. Because it's an expression of who and what you are. And you get to live that. Yeah.
Living a life grounded.
Living a life that's grounded. Yeah. Making contact with spiritual guides. Yeah. So it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, that things may be a little bit different for each one of us, right? I don't know how many people would be thrilled about standing at a trailhead 3 o'clock in the morning wondering if they're not going to get eaten alive by whatever else is out there, right? But if you notice, we all seemingly have kind of a different expression on what that would look like and what that is for you, right? Does what brings you joy ever change? How does it change? Exponentially? Mm-hmm. Your state of mind can impact joy. Consistently, I heard. New adventures. Circumstances, of course. Health.
What comes to me is if it's not expanding me anymore, then I tend to move on from that thing.
So if it's not expanding her, then she has a tendency to move on from that thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think that really is the heart of this. It's a moving target. In other words, it's constantly changing, right? Because we're constantly changing. I hope. I mean, number one, we're getting older. We're not getting younger. Wait a minute. Right? So life changes, and as life changes, then things start to change. What brings us joy can change. I notice myself as I get older, I continue to expand. I continue to push myself. I continue to do things in life that maybe I haven't done before, to open my eyes, to see what else is out there. And I just notice my desires change. And as my desires change, then those things can change. Of course, not the foundational pieces, not my family, not my puppies, not my spiritual family. But other things can change. And I think it's just a matter of becoming aware of what's inside of you that may be changing and make it okay. Make it okay, right? It's okay. How often do you really do what brings you joy? I heard a not much. Daily? Daily? Not enough times. Landscaping. Yep. All the time. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great question. Why would we bother to do anything else? Yeah, let me see a show of hands. How many people do? Things that don't bring you joy. Yeah, we do. Right? That's just real. Yeah. Peter's raising both hands. Yeah. So in other words, there's stuff out there, there's times out there when we wind up getting busy. We're told countless times that no. You need to do this. This is what's going to bring you happiness. This is going to bring you joy. And so what happens? We wind up following all the rules because the rules are the things that tell us, well, if you just do this because society said this should bring me joy instead of following our heart, right? But it's just a matter of figuring out what brings you joy and then honoring it, right? It's just taking a few minutes just to honor what it is that's bringing you joy and making that kind of, hopefully, towards the top of your priority list, right? Let me ask you this question. Do you use joy to help guide your decisions and actions? Yeah, sometimes. Not enough. All the time. More so lately. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. So I hope these questions are causing you to look within. Because in my opinion and in my experience, this thing called joy is a gift. It's a tremendous gift that we can use or not. In other words, it's not going to be forced on you at all. And that's the purpose of the whole talk, is to talk about joy, your true north. This thing that's out there that we can use if we want to or not. It's your choice. It's your decision, right? Mary Cupperflee, I think that's how you pronounce her name. One of the great Unity writers. She's only done a few books, but they are super powerful and really, really good. Has my favorite quote, "Joy belongs to you whether you know it or not. It is yours now to discover, to use, to exercise, and to bring into expression." Let's look at that for a minute. It belongs to you whether you know it or not. It's not going to be forced on you. It's literally a part of who and what you are. It can't be taken from us. Why? Because of your divinity. So it can't be taken from you. It belongs to you whether you know it or not. And my experience has been, I don't think enough people know that. I don't think enough people are aware of the fact that, wait a minute, you mean to tell me this thing called joy is something that's part of who and what I am? And the truth is, the only thing I need to do is to be able to connect with it and be able to remember? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. It's yours now. So you guys know I always like using the quote that it's kind of like gravity, it's always on. Apply that to joy. You guys have to understand, it's always there. Always there. So just realize that you're able to basically realize it and acknowledge the fact that this thing is always going on, to discover it. How many people have discovered what really brings them joy and really thought about it? I mean, really sat down and say, what brings me joy? How many have really sat and thought about what is it in this life that really is the thing that brings me joy, that when I think about just does something in my heart and soul that brings me joy? I would argue that a lot of people have never sat down and really thought about that. As a life coach, I'm telling you that when I'm having conversations with people, I guarantee you they're not always thinking about what brings me joy. And to me, that should be the roadmap. That should be the thing that we're using as our true north. What brings you joy? Serious joy. The thing that makes your heart flutter, that makes you just so genuinely happy. But discover it. Seriously sit down and think about what is it that's bringing me joy? And then use it. Use it. Use this tool. Use this superpower. Use the spiritual thing called joy as a thing that's going to guide your life. And watch how your life starts to change. I really believe that part of us sometimes thinks it's too good to be true. Wait, Mike, are you kidding me? Do you mean to tell me I can really sit there and start using joy as a thing that's going to rule and guide my life? Yes, I am. I'm going to tell you that you can do that. Not only going to tell you you can do it, I'm going to tell you you probably should be, especially because of who and what you are. You don't have to. There's no judgment. We don't have to. But I think some of us have this idea that it just can't quite be that good. That, this whole thing about joy and following my heart and following my soul, it really, really, it sounds good, Mike, but it's almost too good to be true. How many people feel that sometimes? That it might be just a little bit too good to be true. I get it. I've been there. I understand it. But as I keep playing with this thing called joy, and I keep trusting it and not be afraid of it, and I keep trusting myself and what it's telling me, and then I realize that God's up there going like, Mike, the only one that's limiting your expression, the only one that's slowing down more joy from showing up in your life isn't me. It's you. It's really you. And the more that you can open up, the more that you can stand in it, the more that you can realize you're worthy to receive it, guess what? I got way more. I got more where that came from. Can you handle it? That's the message that God's telling me. And if I can just relax into that and trust it and open up by following joy, what I'm noticing is more and more and more. But guess where it started? Right here. It started right here. And then exercise it. And that's what it is. See, I really believe that these things we talk about on Sunday mornings, I really walk out that door and I really apply this stuff. I really, 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 really do. And if you guys know me well enough, you know that I don't just get up here and talk about this stuff. I'm actually applying it. And so what's happening is like I'm going to take this stuff and I go out there and I start playing with it. Because to me, your divinity is something to be played with. It's an expression. It's something to do on a daily basis. Not just showing up once a week. There's nothing wrong with just showing up once a week. But I'm telling in terms of my expression, my experience, my divinity, no. I'm taking that with me every place that I go. When I was on that trailhead at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm looking up at the stars and I'm seeing the moon sitting out there, do you think I'm not having a conversation with God? part of the conversation is, please don't let this thing eat me. And the other part of the conversation is, are you kidding me? This is so beautiful. I don't know if anybody could ever imagine experiencing something like this that's not out here doing the same thing I'm doing. That's part of that conversation. That's what's going on. Why? Because my belief is that God is sitting there just waiting and saying, it really can be this good. Really. It really can be this good. If you decide it can be. But if you don't, and you think you got to follow the rules, and you can't follow your heart, you can't follow joy, because everybody else says, no, you can't do that. Here are the rules, play by the rules. Then guess what happens? It's almost like what I think it's like this little spark in me. For me, it's a little bit more than a spark. Whatever it is inside of you, I notice that for myself, that little piece of me that reminds me how much fun it can be, it starts to fade. In other words, it's just anytime I don't honor what my joy is telling me, that little part of me comes a little bit dimmer, and then a little bit dimmer, and then a little bit dimmer if I'm not careful. If I'm not careful, that's the key. And so in this process, when you're playing with this thing called joy, it's just pay attention. When are you following it, and when are you not? When are you thinking about it, and when are you not? Is joy part of your daily practice? Is it something you think about very often? Is it something you play with? Think about this. I mean, even when I do these talks and I'm preparing for these talks, literally I sit there and I say, God, all right, what are we supposed to be doing this Sunday? Because I want to make it really fun. I want to make it fresh. I want the people to enjoy it. What do we want to do, God? Let's go have some fun. Let's make it joyful. I literally say that. Sometimes that means me redoing an entire talk the day before. Sometimes, right? Because then all of a sudden there's a different flash of inspiration. And so sometimes that's what we do. The next thing is called bring it into expression, like she said, Copperfield said. It's now make it a part of who and what you are. Go around in your life and let people see it. That's how we change things, people. You want to change this planet? Are you looking around the planet like I am and occasionally going, what on God's green earth are we doing here? I don't think there's a person in the sanctuary who doesn't occasionally think that. But you know what? It all starts with us. It does. So here's the thing. When you're hanging out and you're playing with your divinity, and now all of a sudden you can start using this thing called joy, and you start following that joy, and you start trusting that joy, and you start honoring that joy, then all of a sudden, guess what? I'm telling you, people are going to start paying attention. And you know the best part about it? We don't necessarily have to say anything. It's just about who and what we're being. That's the thing that's going to change things. Because then people are going to kind of want to go, what are you doing? What are you up to? What's the shift? Because they're going to notice a difference. Because there's not enough people out there that are really living this. There's not. Everyone else is following the rules, not paying attention, not plugging in, not playing with the stuff, not doing the stuff that we talk about here at Unity. They don't. It's kind of like they're on autopilot. This is what I need to do, and that's what they do, right? So some things to consider as we start wrapping up the talk a little bit. Questions, I guess. Is joy one of your top values? You may want to consider making it one of your top values. Maybe, right? Do you know what brings it? In other words, do you have your list? Can you sit there and honestly say, these are the things that bring it, right? Do you honor it? Are you really following what joy is telling you to do? It's one thing to hear it. How many people do this one? How many people know what's inside of themselves? They know what they should be doing because it brings them joy, and yet there's a hesitation to actually do it. Yeah. Bunch of hands go up with that one. I get it. Yeah, we're afraid to follow it. And that could be in a lot of different areas of our life, right? All the different areas of our life. Where are we not following it? Why are we not trusting it? Why are we not doing it? Are you using it to guide your decisions and your actions? Again, if it's a value and it's a top value, you get to follow it, and then you get to basically use it to help you make decisions. That's what it's there for. So in wrapping this up, I just wanted to share just a couple of final thoughts with you. As you walk out these doors, and again, this idea of just playing with this stuff, make joy like right up there in terms of one of your spiritual superpowers. Trust yourself. Really trust yourself. Honor yourself. Honor this thing that's basically being told by you. It was put in there for a reason. It's a part of our heart and soul that's telling us, hey, pay attention. I really think that before we came down here, we had a list of things that we wanted to do and go play with and figure out. And I think joy is one of the strongest indications that we've been given to tell us what to pay attention to. Whether it's families, whether it's cats, whether it's our career, whatever it is for you. Figure out what brings you joy if you haven't done that. And then go out there and play. Trust it, honor it, and really make it a part of what you do on your daily basis, on your daily walk. Because if you do, in my opinion, then you're really fulfilling one of the things that you came down here to do, which is stay connected with your divinity and do this beautiful, magical dance. And to me, that's what this life is. It's about this dance that's going on as I walk through life with my divinity, with God. Is that thing that I call God, whatever you want to call it, the divine, whatever language you want to use, as I continue to play with that, there's like these messages and things that it's trying to do and work its way through me that I can understand that becomes a part of me that gets louder and louder and louder. And I would just tell you that it's there for you too, that it's an amazing gift. Every single person in here has this little piece, this spark, if you will. And it's like it needs this breath, this whew. And all we have to do is just blow on that thing a little bit, and I'm telling you what will happen within yourself. That spark will become an inferno if you'll give it just a little bit of a chance. And by following joy, that's going to be one of the ways that you can start paying attention and notice that part of you that wants to be expressed. And it's there for every single one of us. Every single one of us. And so I would encourage you to spend time with that this week, this month, as we go through this month together. And just play with that. And again, maybe it's not standing someplace at 3 o'clock in the morning, but maybe start making a list of the things that bring you joy. Maybe start to spend more time doing those things and trusting and listening to your heart and soul, telling you what those things are. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. You guys are amazing, as always. Thank you for coming this morning. It's always great to see you. God bless. God bless.